It's John's chair. I suppose we can save one of them. He never looked after these chairs. I could fix this one. If this one doesn't collapse. What are the 17 things I can't leave home without? I started this channel in September 2023 and I planned around the 1 year mark to do a video of the gear that stayed. I take or try to take pretty much on every trip. And obviously events got in the way. So now it's nearly, I don't know, more than 18 months. The ranking of things has changed in the sort of 16, 17 odd things. Stay tuned because at the end we'll have the inaugural Quacks, things that didn't make the cut, and you'll recognise some of those things, probably all of them, from videos that I've said, don't buy this. A lot of these videos are long selling points for Decathlon or someone like that, because I've actually been testing it for 2 years now, and some of it was not new gear or was end of stock. Some of it is secondhand only, some of it's quite cheap, some of it you will find at certain supermarkets. So it's not all, hey, buy this expensive tent. And some of it is things you can still get today. My reviews are always 100% independent, all my own money, and I'm not sponsored. I'm not paid to say any of this. In fact, a lot of it probably goes totally against the orthodoxy of ultralight and everything. So the first one is the bag that holds all the things. All the things. And this is the Kelty Coyote 8TL. This is a massive rucksack. It is a monster, but it's bulletproof. I think it's something like over 2 kilograms, so you know the ultralighters would be like, no. It's got lots of features, lots of pockets, and I've been lugging books up to the top. This has been full of books. It hasn't failed me, which I can't say that about some of my other rucksacks. My old Berghaus died from being overloaded, and so did my old army rucksack. So it's built like a proverbial brick house. I bought this in completely the wrong way. What you're supposed to do is go down to a shop, get yourself fitted up, try on different rucksacks, and then buy something in personal. I bought this from Prepper Store. It's like an end of sale thing. You can't easily get these in this country. You can get some Kelty stuff, but it's a US brand. It's hard to get here. And I bought it on spec, and it's the best purchase I've ever made. You can load it up really heavily and it doesn't feel heavily. You don't get sweaty back with it. Adjustable. You've got these side pockets and you can fit your trekking poles in here. You've seen it in my videos if you're watching my videos. Ultralight snobs on the West Highland Way were waltzing past me, smirking and side-eyeing me about this pack. I bet you anything their backs ached and they hurt at the end of the day, and I didn't. I've done like 12, 15, 17 miles with this pack. It's best not to load it up to 8TL and try and do something like that. It taught me an important lesson. It's about comfort. It's not about weight. I went on a sort of a spree trying to find lighter rucksacks and then kept coming back to this one. And I really wish I could get, because they don't make the Coyote range anymore, a 60 or a 40. I think it's the most comfortable rucksack ever. As I say, most people have slept on it. Most people don't know about it because it's an American brand. But even in the US, it's like, oh no, Kelty, oh that's a bit too heavy. It goes to show you ultralight isn't the be-all and end-all. Sometimes it's about, especially with a pack, it's about comfort, what you can comfortably take. And I do have lighter packs now. The runner-up would be this one, the Sierra Designs 4060 Flex Capacitor. And this is a good pack, and I do use it when this is just complete overkill. The jury's out on the longevity. I mean, this one I've had coming up to 2 years, probably longer. I haven't had this as long, but it served me well, and it's a lot lighter, and it is comfortable. I wouldn't load it with books and try and bring stuff from John's storage to here. This would break. So in the bag, to borrow Paul's phrase, bag of swag, we have, and the obvious ones, next one is Lanshan 1 and Lanshan 2. You might be surprised about that. I've been all about the nature hike, but for a certain type of hiking, long distance hiking, where you're not up against brambles and having to be in this tiny little space, these are brilliant. I've had the Lanshan 2 in 30-40 mile an hour winds and it's been fine. It's flappy and there are issues with tension tents. These are all trekking pole tents. They don't suit every trip, but I have to say, although this one has been attacked by brambles, hence why the Naturehike, which would be the number 2 in this, the Naturehike Cloud Up, which is a great tent. Yeah, my heart is very much in the Lanshans. Next up is the Therm-a-rest. Now, this is a weird one because I've not really found the ideal mattress. This is just very reliable. It was second-hand. I don't know how old it is. It must be many years old. The Therm-a-rest X-therm Neo Air. You can tell it's old because it's the old valve on. I'm not a fan of these valves, but anyway. I think 5.7 at this point. And now the newer ones are, the NXTs are like R7.8 point something. It's very small. It's not the most comfortable. I'm not really selling it, am I? I'm still looking for the best comfortable mattress. I did find it. Yeah, that will feature later in this roundup. The next one has to be the Firemaple pots. I haven't used the Petrel G3 as much as the XK6, but the XK6, just a reliable, good pot, although this can melt. Runner up, I would say, is the Petrel G3, just because I haven't used it enough. A better lid, hopefully less melty. I've got good hopes about this, and the reason is this is a 1 litre, which is good for, you know, bigger meals. This is 750. The sweet spots is probably somewhere between them. You can see in my infamous titanium video, with all the stuff about titanium, I've got a titanium pot, I've got titanium cookware. It's just aluminium works way better heat conduction, and of course these have got the heat converter, which makes a big difference even in alcohol stoves. And talking about alcohol stoves, the next one is the Speedster stove. That is definitely close to my heart, but also goes on not every trip, but a lot of trips. It's a good little stove. I've had several because I managed to melt the in a few times. Never put them like that. You could make one of these if you want to, but this is the simmering. Simmering with alcohol stoves is a really sort of fuel efficient way to cook things like risotto, pasta and things like that. Very ultralight, wonderfully ultralight. Then we also have my DIY Caldera cone, and I'll link to the video where I made this. If I take one, I'm taking the other. It makes such a difference to actually have a proper windshield for an alcohol stove. You waste a lot of fuel otherwise. A beautiful combination, a Caldera cone and a Speedster stove. And another one in here we have, I don't think, since I got it, it's been a single trip, I don't have this. My Cedar Summit X mug, and you can still get these, still going strong after, I would have got it fairly early on, so it is coming up to 2 years, year and a half. I've had no problems with it, and the ridges help when you are holding like this to not burn you, which is always a problem with camping cups. Not much to say about that. It's got measures on it. When I'm measuring water, I know I need 400ml, 300ml, whatever, I'll use those measuring marks. Very useful. And the other thing is the Primula Brew Buddy. I use one of these at home every day now because the coffee machine broke. And so I've got 2 of them. This is my camping one. It's got leaves in it. My other one doesn't have leaves in it. I had to buy 2 of them. I'm glad I did now, because you had to order them from the States through Amazon special order. This is just a good little coffee filter. And also, at a push, you could use that as not a proper water filter, we'll get to one of those, but pre-filter for when you've got Gunji water. They're not on the list, but I do love my rainbow Outlery. These, they tend to go everywhere with me as well now. So that's it for the cooking section. Next one is a cheap one. I know Paul will love this, an idiot outdoors. Camping blanket, or you just use one of the blankets they put across windscreens in this kind of weather. When it's 27 degrees, you see a lot of them at the moment. When it's cold, this makes a real difference. Extra insulation under the floor or underneath your mattress. But also you can use it as sit mat as well. So yeah, I don't take it on every trip, but I usually wish I had. Fjern. I'm not swearing in Swedish. They're actually Scottish, weirdly. There's this whole thing about branding things Scandinavian, have you noticed? This is the Fjern Arctis jacket. Bought at Sports Pursuit. It seems like Fjern is basically a Sports Pursuit brand. I'm not really sure they have their own website, but it feels like they're always the same things on sale at Sports Pursuit, so it's very strange. And when it's cold, I will take this or the jacket that everyone mentioned if you don't need winter wear. The other one is the Decathlon MT100 jacket, which is brilliant. This has just got a lot more down on it. This has got 750 fill power, go in. 95.5, so that's 95 down versus feather, and it's treated down, it's hydrophobic down. The Decathlon jacket has less down in it. It's good, I would say, down to about 5 degrees. This is more like if it's freezing or lower, but they're both good jackets. And talking of keeping warm, this is the EDZ Merino balaclava, which is great because you can wear it a bit like a snood around your neck, or you can wear it like this as a hat, or you can wear it like this, there. There's a balaclava at night, which is why I tend to use it. And this generally goes with me on every trip because you never know. It's British weather. Even when it's 27 degrees like this, it can go down to about 13, 10 at night, and you don't want a cold head. It's nice the fact that you can use it to keep your neck warm or your head warm, as a hat or as a balaclava. And EDZ stuff is really good. British company. The next one up is my merino base layers. So I have a cheaper version. These are the icebreaker layers. I wouldn't really do icebreaker nowadays. I'd probably try and do some cheaper ALDI Lidl version. There's a bit of a premium with them. These are the 260 merino. Merino is great. I would say to everyone, get merino socks, get merino everything. I'm wearing merino socks in this weather and it's cool. My feet are cool and dry. Whereas if I was wearing synthetic socks, your feet get really kind of clammy. If it's cold, the trouser part or the jacket comes with me on the trip. But nowadays, I actually will take the Uniqlo Heat Tech, which I mentioned in the Scottish video. Again, something that people have slept on. Uniqlo base layers, they are brilliant. They're not expensive and they come in various weights and sizes. The ultra ones are really for winter and very, very warm. This is one of the ultra ones. Even if in a hot day I'm wearing this, I actually feel too hot. It's so thin, but it's such a good insulator. It's quite crazy. The reason why I generally don't do synthetic base layers, I've got eczema. You might see these sort of marks. I don't know if you can see them on my leg. Synthetic things tend to get a bit too clammy and irritate. But interestingly, these don't seem to irritate me as much. I wear the Ultra Heat Tech in winter constantly. Yes, they do irritate, but anything would irritate against my skin. I've got some army base layers and oh, ouch, 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 ouch. I don't know what it is in them, but it just makes me scratch, scratch, scratch. They've got a treatment which means they don't smell as much. That's where merino wins over synthetics, because synthetics will stink after a few days. I would recommend out of the synthetic things, ALDI and Lidl, maybe not this time of year when it's 27 degrees, but I wear this shirt a lot. Don't ignore Lidl or ALDI, they do good stuff. Their basic stuff is good. What hotels do we have? Oh yes. I mentioned water filters. I actually had a water filter at the beginning, MSR Trail Shot. Terrible water filter. Do not buy it. Absolutely do not buy it. It's just impossible to filter through. It's not wrong, so it's not in the Quack section, but it's also doesn't work very well. Whereas the Sawyer squeeze works really well. And I love the fact you can pair it with any bottle. The Trail Shot, by the time you've got water from it, it clogs in about 2 seconds. Whereas this one, as long as you backflush it, doesn't clog. And also is used in the third world, so you know, it's the developing world uses this. It's tried and tested. And the Cnoc Vector. There's a 2 litre version. Kind of wish I'd got the 1 litre version actually. It's a bit of overkill. Very reliable. This was used a lot in my Scottish trip. So is this. The only thing is, like all silicone, picks up smell and taste. So yeah, it's still a bit peaty unfortunately. And of course, yes, Orikaso. That has stayed with me from early on. And I still usually take a bowl, or sometimes the plate as well, with me everywhere. It's so light. You can only get these second hand because the company went bust. They were a Dragon's Den thing or something, but they never really took off. So, but if you look on eBay, you can get old stock of them, new old stock. They're like origami, so they're fun as well. See how quickly I can do this. There we are. The cut one takes several hours. And in my pocket is another one, which is the Saucony H25. I wasn't going to mention this, but this does go with me everywhere. And I did a video about this as well. USB rechargeable, but it's got one of the 1865 battery. So it's got a 1865 battery. You could take multiple batteries, but I never have to because you just recharge it. Yeah, oop, I'm blind. It is a bit blinding. You've got the red light, the deep red light. Obviously people will still see it in the distance. To animals and things, it's not as obvious. The deep red is quite often used for astral photography as well. It's not kill your night vision. It's killed my vision now. I thought I'd lost this earlier and I was gutted. I actually found it. It's the Huntsman with added tinder, and the toothpick is replaced with a flint. Magic. So that's the backup in case everything fails. I can still light things. Anyway, who needs a toothpick anyway? You've got a usual knife and, you know, corkscrew, very important, can opener and a bottle opener and a screwdriver, a tool for getting scouts out of camels' hooves and that kind of thing. But what I like about this most of all, if I can get it out, yeah, it's got scissors. I could have mentioned my Aegis Max down bag. I've not really tested it, the new Pelican Wooby down poncho liner. I wanted to mention things which I take on every trip. I don't take the down bag on every trip. Sometimes. So that's kind of an honorary mention, I think, is the Aegis Max Nano 2 down bag. It's a good bag. You can probably do better nowadays with a camper box, UL 250, which is what I would buy now if I was buying now, because I think Aegis Max is overpriced. It's shed a bit of down and it survived being washed quite well in a machine. I had to repair it though, so the stitching started to go, so I kind of feel a bit like I can't really recommend it. It didn't last 2 years before it started to have a few problems, but you know, it's a light fabric and it's a fragile thing. So yeah, that's why that isn't on the list. I think that's all my favourite things. These are some of my favourite things. We get on to the Quacks. Now, the first Quack is the bag of Quack. This is the bag of Quack. Total Quack. Yeah, it's rather mouldy. I've just had this stored in the flat and it's got quite mouldy. But this is the Osprey Rook, which is a pile of crap. I got it cheaply at Go Outdoors in a sale. But it's one of the most uncomfortable bags that's supposed to be comfortable, if that makes sense. I wouldn't expect the Quidium Pro to be the best comfortable pack in the world, or my little Naturehike 25L, or even the Army rucksacks. They're not designed for that. They don't have the features this is supposed to have, like the back and stuff. But if you load this up and it's a 60L pack, it's uncomfortable. And I don't know if you can see that, it broke within a few months. The zip broke and the support's terrible. They wanted me to send pictures and more pictures and I just can't be arsed. I sent them pictures of it and oh, can we have more pictures? Just fobbed me off. Osprey are supposed to have good service. I could say in the UK their service is terrible and not recommended. I do not recommend this pack in the slightest. The idea that you've got a pack that is supposed to be 60L or 65L I think, but you can't load it 65L because actually if you did, it's just painful. It's just ridiculous. Badly spec'd. Would not recommend. The next one, and long-term viewers of the channel would know this one. Yeah, it's the Light Tour. I need to try and see if I can repair it. The fact that it didn't even last a year. Really comfortable. Amazing mattress. Obviously I contacted the Chinese seller and it was like 9 months in I think, and it failed and they didn't want to know. So be very aware that if you buy this from a Chinese seller you're on your own. Or any of those mattresses, those cheap mattresses. I thought it was the valve. There are issues with the valve not seating properly, but it wasn't. It seems to be a problem with these diamond cushions. I don't know how to describe it. When you blow them up, they're a bit like an old school cushion. It's got those sort of pins in. The areas are ballooned and areas which are pinned down. and those around the areas that are sort of pinned inwards apparently can leak around there. So that is so sad, but also you can see compared to the Therm-a-rest how small, not massively smaller, but it is a smaller pump bag, and so it's harder to use. Everyone laughed at me not being able to use a pump bag, and that's why, because that's such a small, difficult pump bag to use. So the next one is the Flex Tail. I haven't sold this yet, I need to sell it. The zero pump, and it just doesn't pump up. The two mattresses I mentioned, it doesn't pump up either of them. It does one to 50% and the other one barely 20-25%. So yeah, wish I hadn't bought that. And it was a bit of a scam. Everyone was bigging it, and I was one of the few channels to criticise it. And then suddenly everyone was like, oh yeah, it isn't very good. Took your time. And yeah, Saucony shoes. I've actually got some footage which I've not posted, which I might post here, of me fixing these for the second time. None of the Saucony Peregrine 13s or the 12s lasted 12 months. They either wore out on the soles, or these re-glue that. They were sort of coming off there as well. And also is wear at the back. Both the 12s and the 13s have done that. For a premium trail runner, trail hiking shoe, you expect something a bit better than that. And the other video talking about the problem, it looks like he's actually tried to do it again here. Wow, it hasn't come through. But you see where that mark is? It looks like Thorn has tried to do the same thing as happened to my first pair. There's no rock plate there. So it just goes straight through. Anything will go straight through, which is rubbish. 12 had a thinner strip. The 14s, and I think the 15s as well, had the same design. The modern ones don't. Quelle surprise. It directs all of the rocks and stuff into there because it's a concave shape. I had a Thorn go through nearly into my foot. I don't wear Sauconys anymore. I wear Ultra Lone Peaks, which are getting a bit worn now, unfortunately, because I haven't been hiking with them, I've been wearing them every day. But these are zero drop. But I got them cheaply on eBay. Way better, way better. All of them will wear out. It's soft, grippy rubber, it will wear, but I think it's more the other bits which failed, which pissed me off. And I haven't got them here because I returned them. We have the Crag Hoppers carbon poles, which broke almost immediately within about 9 days, and I returned those. And another Quack goes to the Petzl headlamp I had. The idea that you make multiple versions of a headlamp. Some have red lights, some don't. So I sold that one. I wasn't happy about that. But that wasn't necessarily completely its fault, I suppose. It is fascinating how manufacturers do that a lot. They'll have like similarly spec'd things. It's misleading, I think, a bit sometimes. I don't know if it's intentional. I hope you enjoyed this video. A little guide to the stuff that I try and take on every trip. You'll see another gear video after this, probably the minimal loadout video with the Petrel pack. And I'll speak to you soon.